Miles, what's happening, Miles?
Brian.
Oh, hey, hi. How's it going?
Yo.
Nice. I didn't check. I didn't check any
Friday,
levels.
mate.
We're gonna make the cats check the levels for us. Be like, hey guys, just let us know who's louder, if anybody's louder.
I'm not saying the Y word, which always blows the mic out.
What's the Y word?
Yo.
God, now everyone's gonna say that you're louder,
right?
and then but it's only because you went yo.
That's it. It's hard to say yo without going loud.
It is.
I don't know what it is about that word.
Yeah.
Miles, everyone in the chat say yo.
Yo.
Just say yo. Testing. GameCats in the chat.
Yeah.
But do it in all caps.
Meow. It's Two Wise Friday. All right. Speaking of Two Wise Friday, let's get this fucking show on the road. You ready to do this?
Sure.
Sure.
I guess we could. Well, yeah, we could. Why not?
Let's do it. The intro goes way worse when you choke before you start.
I thought that was you doing the intro.
Yeah, I know, right? I took a big breath of air in order to do this big long introduction, and instead I choked on a wad of spit. This is PSVR GameScast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Two Wise Friday right here on PSVR without Parole. We do this live for your viewing pleasure and for your listening pleasure on podcast services of your choice. Thanks, Jamie, for getting those up each and every GamesCast. You might be watching this live, but if you're not watching this live, you might be interested to see that down below there are some timestamps that have been afforded to us by Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, one of the coolest cats in the chat. All the coolest cats are in the chat, but all the coolest cats are also over on our Discord channel. And click that link in the description below. Join our Discord for free. And if you really, really, really want to support the channel with financially, with dollars, cents, depends on how you look at it. But patreon.com/withoutparolegames is where you can support the channel financially and get your name on that scroll that goes endlessly down below. $3 a month. It also gives you access to voice chat over on Discord. Plenty of exclusive Patreon content coming. I'm been sick for 2 weeks, which is really crappy. But hopefully hopefully this is the tail end of it and it's almost over and I can start putting out some cool content again. My name is Brian Powell from this channel right here, PSVR without Parole. And this proper British gentleman to my right, it is Miles Two Wise Dyer from Miles Dyer Official.
Every week, it's the same thing. Which way am I doing it? This way.
Ready? High five. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 2.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Didn't look great on my end. but that's all part of the fun. Crikey said this stream is just going to be you choking. That's a different stream, Crikey. Which that's on my OnlyFans, onlyfans.com/Brian Paul loves you all. There's a lot of choking going on over there. Miles, what's going on in the world of Miles Dyer? You got some stuff happening over on your YouTube channel? Fill us in before we start talking about PSVR specific stuff, dude.
Oh yeah, because that's why we're here. I mean, look, my channel is going through a big revamp next Wednesday. I've been sorting out loads of stuff, been on Fiverr a lot, speaking with a lot of graphic designers and that. So I'm going to be having a new banner, new profile photo, just a new me. And then also we're going to be launching YouTube membership. I've used Patreon up to now, and I'll still keep my Patreon open. But I'm going to be trying the YouTube membership, and obviously I'll be able to feed back to you how it goes, which means getting custom emojis for the chat and things like that. So, yeah, I'm really excited because the live show I do on Wednesdays was kind of something to keep me occupied while I was trying to get my podcast show, The Quest for Global Empathy, up and running as a regular thing. But that's just been a very difficult thing to keep going. And so I realized that this Wednesday show is now the main part of my channel. My podcast will come back at some point, but I'm sort of just committing to it fully. So, yeah, I just want to thank all the Game Cats who show up every Wednesday. It's always a really, really good time. And I just want to say also, get well soon. You know, I do like saying that, but I'm always like, why soon? Get well now, Brian. Get well now. But does that sound too aggressive when you tell that to people? Because you're like, get well soon is kind of like, yeah, get well. Whereas get well now is like, I'm waiting. Are you well yet? Are you well yet, Brian?
So there's a whole part of being sick that like just means you're free of responsibility for a little while, right? Where it's just like everyone understands you're sick. Everyone goes, listen, you work hard when you're not sick. And so when you are sick, just fucking go to bed. And dude, in my world, there's nothing better than being in bed, right? If I can turn on some horror movies and maybe drag some pizza into the bed with me, then yeah, maybe it could be even better. But honestly, like, dude, there's just no better feeling than like laying down, going to bed and going, I'm not going to set an alarm. And so there's a part of me that goes, being sick is sort of just like kind of cool sometimes, where you're just like, I'm not going to get up tomorrow and do anything. And so get well soon works for me.
That's true.
Get well now means I just want one more night in bed where I don't have to set an alarm.
That's a really good point. Well, speaking of movies, Brian, and I'm always really conscious about mentioning movies that have just come out in the chat because I'm always worried someone's gonna spoil stuff. But
no spoiling. Obviously.
Have you seen Nope, or do you plan to?
So I keep hearing about Nope as something that exists, but I don't know anything about it. The fact that it keeps coming up in my sphere means it must be a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got horror vibes from the trailer. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people because it brings in a lot of different genres from what I've heard. But the thing about Nope, which is nothing to do with the movie itself, that really surprised me is it's been out in the US now for, I think, a week.
Okay.
It's not coming out in the UK for like another week. And it confused me because I was thinking, I thought we lived at a time now where movies came out at the same time. Mainly it was to stop piracy, and also when there's movies that could have spoilers, it's to stop people talking about stuff. You know, at the moment, I'm just trying to not learn anything about this movie. But yeah, like a 1 to 2 week difference. That's a long time in the internet land, isn't it?
It is for sure. Maybe they had to do some British overdubs, right? Like so the people in your neck of the woods could understand. You know, they have to like call people governor and stuff like that, like change all the coffee to tea. I'm sure that there are cultural differences that need to be made in the movie. Otherwise, you know, maybe you just wouldn't get it.
Well, we know what Nope is. By the way, Nope is the best name for a horror movie. Like, I just think it's brilliant. It's just so brilliant. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that at some point.
Yeah, well, I'm curious for sure. I've got a list of movies that are coming out that I want to see, but I'm assuming that everything comes to streaming services within like 6 weeks of coming to theaters now. So like I don't even bother with the theatrical release. I'm like, oh, whatever, it'll be here soon enough. Like The Black Phone, was that the recent Ethan Hawke one?
Everyone's been going on about this. Everyone was mentioning it in my show on Wednesday. Everyone's like, Black Phone, got to see it.
Yeah, everyone's been saying it's decent, and it sounds right up my alley. It sounds just weird enough to be something I'd be interested in. But
and what was the multiverse movie that came out alongside Doctor Strange? It's called like Everything. It was like quite a small movie, but then it blew
Everything
up.
Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, supposedly it's absolutely fantastic.
So I'm going to admit something here because you guys are all my friends, and I know you won't judge me for this at all. I actually purchased the movie because I'd heard so many great things about it. Dave Station went on about it for a week, and I was like, this is gonna be great, cool independent movie that probably is gonna like fry my brain and like make me think about all sorts of crazy shit. Right? I'm gonna love this. It was too much, man. Like, you know, especially like being sick and everything. It was like I thought I was in for like an introspective something, and instead it was like kind of nonstop craziness. And so you just have to be prepared for that. I'm interested in going back and seeing what it's all about and like actually paying closer attention to it. But I made it about 40 minutes in. It was like, this is going to have to wait till for another time. I just don't have the brain power for this right now. It's
different
high
movies, different times. Yeah, for sure. Well, funnily enough, movies is going to be something we come back to in the main conversation of this chat, actually, because we always talk about Sony's movie catalog and also the features. But yeah, no, it's always cool to chat about things in different mediums for sure. Yeah. I wonder if there's ever going to be a VR game where you're a movie director, because as a kid, I used to love on Windows. It was called Windows Movie Maker, but it was before the actual like video editing software. And it was where you created 3D characters on screen that you chose, and you would like click on them and drag them with an action, so they'd start walking. And you actually created your own movies with these sort of like 3D cartoony characters. And as a kid, I absolutely loved it. And I'm just like, I wonder if there's something there about, I guess Dreams is kind of that, isn't it? Because I don't know actually. In Dreams, can you actually create sort of?
Sure.
Yeah, you can create cutscenes in a game,
sure.
or is
Absolutely.
it one or the other? Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw. Actually, the one that stands out to me, somebody, I want to say somebody recreated Silent Hills in Dreams, but since Silent Hills never existed, they were like, "Here's what I thought Silent Hills would be," and they just made like this. Like, I don't know, it went on for hours, and it was very cutscene heavy. But yeah, you walk around with the third person character, and then very frequently it switches over to cutscenes, which it was really well done. I mean, it might be a quantity over quality thing, because I was just like, this is going on forever, but it's pretty cool though. Miles, before we get way off topic, which I'm always fine with. We've got a bunch of tips I think we should probably knock out here.
Love the tips. Thank you for the tips, everyone. Regardless of what you say of them, you could literally tip $20 and say, "I hate Miles," and I'll still love you for it. So that's a challenge.
I would prefer you don't say that, but I mean, I'd be okay if you said you hate me. If you're watching and you hate me, then that's actually pretty cool. Emily Baxter, hashtag the cartoony witch game kit with the $2 tip says, "Cartoony games suck. The weekend is now official." Thank you, Emily Baxter. We appreciate your horrible perspective on video games. Sir Moses with the 5 rupees says, "Hi, Brian and Miles. Have you seen the newest PS5 beta update mentions the PSVR2 Sense controllers?" This
is cool.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy, right? That we that this has been making the rounds. It's actually funny, Miles. I think there's been a lot of little things lately that have been pointing to PSVR2. Like I think for most people are looking at this stuff going, "Wow, this makes it seem like PSVR2 is coming sooner rather than later." Right? Here we are. We're up here saying, "Oh, Q1 2023," and we've been saying it since February. But I think people are willing to grab onto anything they possibly can and say, "Is this proof or this evidence that possibly shit's coming a little sooner rather than later?" And here's the message that we're referring to here. On the communication message, it says, "Select how your controller communicates with your PlayStation 5 when it's connected using USB cable. This isn't applicable for DualShock 4 series of controllers and the PSVR2 Sense controllers." It's just crazy to see the nomenclature just pop up in the UI before it's released. And so, did you also see the No Man's Sky blog post, Miles?
Yeah, they referenced, but they
PSVR2.
said 2012. Did they say what year? Did they say?
So that's the funny thing is they said we've got a lot of stuff coming in 2022. We've also got the Switch update and this and blah blah blah, and the PSVR2 version all right around the corner. But it was all sort of said in the same breath as 2022, and so everybody seemed to say, "Hey, this is proof that PSVR2 is coming in 2022." And of course, everybody tagged me on Twitter and said this is proof. And I totally see where everybody's coming from, Miles. It's like it's popping up in the beta UI on PlayStation 5. Different developers are talking about it as if it's coming sooner rather than later. And I mean, if I didn't know what I know, I would be 100% with you guys being like, yes, of course it's coming sooner rather than later. And I would give anything for it to come, fall rather than, Q1. But
yeah. It's still Q1. It's like, it's going to be here. Oh man. I mean, we're literally entering August now. My bet is still that the next actual presentation involving VR is going to be in September, which means we could literally be getting an announcement of this showcase in the next 4 weeks.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
so it's not that long. But then it will be long after that, unless pre-orders then come out in November. but then you got to wait until after Christmas. Like, I know March is a date that gets floated around. I think it will be sooner than that. I don't think necessarily January. It could be the start of February.
Yeah. Well, since February, when I put out the video about the Q1 2023 release window, what I'd been hearing, like I simplified it to say Q1 2023, but what I'd been hearing was late February, early March. So we could be pushing March for a release date. But 100%, I get it, man. I get it. Developers are getting really excited about it. It's starting to show up in the UI. We saw on the last show that it was homogenized in Brazil. I don't know what word that was, but it was basically like approved for PSVR2 has been approved for release in Brazil, which generally doesn't happen until about 3 months before things ship. So there's all these little things that are pointing toward PSVR2 coming sooner rather than later. And like, man, who the fuck knows? Like something could have changed behind the scenes. But the problem is that like if Sony, and I said this on Wednesday's show, but it's worth repeating, if Sony changed their plans and then didn't tell developers, like that's just going to piss so many developers off.
Yeah.
You want to be there at launch of the new headset. You don't want to be there 5 months later. I mean, it'll still be fine 5 months later, but being a launch title is great for sales. And if the only thing keeping you from being there at launch is that Sony fucking just decided not to tell you about the new launch date that they decided on, that would be some pretty shitty maneuvering on Sony's part, and I don't think they're doing that.
If the date is going to change, developers will be happy only if it means one thing, and that means they have more time, not less. Bring in the time forward, regardless of how close they are. Like shortening the window, especially in this day and age with all the crunch and the post-pandemic world that we're living in. It's it's not going to be cool.
Yeah, well, but the other part of that is that like when you see somebody like I'm assuming Skydance Interactive, right? When they've got Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 coming out this year for PSVR 1 and Quest 2 and PCVR, but then they had to just say 2023 for PSVR 2. I'm assuming with zero knowledge on this, I'm assuming that they would have loved to do a simultaneous launch, right? And so I don't think more time is better for everybody, right? It's like that. How perfect would it have been if PSVR 2 launched this holiday season and they were able to go, here you go, all versions, simultaneously, So obviously the game is going to be ready for that period of time, and I don't know. So we'll see, man. We'll see. I feel like it's already kind of a mess, and they haven't even announced a release date yet. So we'll see how it goes. Man, I had all these tips ready.
Can I talk about the like target for this week?
Yeah, please do.
Because last week, this is the thing; it keeps swinging. And last week I thought the like's going to do okay. We hit 336. I don't know what's going on, Game Cats, but like after the show is over, a lot of you just come out of nowhere and just start smashing that like button. So yeah, we hit 336 last week. So I'm going to go bold this week. I'm going to go bold, Brian. How bold is 350 likes?
I mean, that's
pretty bold.
It's pretty bold.
Pretty bold.
Are you heartbroken when we don't hit our target?
Yeah, I am. I actually, yeah. I start writing poetry, and yeah. Yep. Same. Poetry
Sorry.
that I will never read out on here.
I pull out some old used albums, My Chemical Romance, Bright Eyes.
I just look out the window. Yeah,
I just stare at a pile of razor blades and cry.
Well, I look out the window and see if there are any likes out there, and there aren't. The streets are empty.
That's pretty good. Dave Station VR with the $5 tip says, "You're lucky I like you guys enough to take a break from the cat game." I guess Dave's playing Stray. I like Stray.
I still haven't played Stray. I got Stray installed 2 Tuesdays ago now. I mean, it's so depressing.
You haven't played it? You haven't even started it?
No.
Oh, wow.
Dude, this week was absolutely... The only gaming I've done this week was before this show when I had to work out and I did some Beat Saber. Yeah. And my arms were like spaghetti. It was terrible. It was a terrible, tragic. It was tragic. No one would want to see me do that.
I can't blame you too much, man. Having been sick, I'll tell you, my least favorite part about being sick is that, especially when it's like stomach stuff, when you feel nauseous, putting on a VR headset, you're like, this isn't going to go well. I was playing Walkabout because yesterday the Labyrinth course dropped on Walkabout Mini Golf. And,
I want to play Walkabout.
Yeah. They upped the player limit from 5 players per game to 8, and so now it can take you 4 hours to get through one course. It's a lot of fun though, and it's great to hang out with people. And they killed it with the Labyrinth course. But man, I will tell you, I couldn't play as long as I wanted to because I was nauseous and it was making me sick to stay in VR. And I hate that so much because as somebody who doesn't get motion sickness, I obviously very much empathize with all the people who do get it because whenever I get sick, it feels like my stomach gets sensitive and it makes it really difficult for me to play. And so I empathize with anybody who gets it, even when they're not sick. That's terrible. Belremy, the Game Cat, with the €20. There's a lot of emojis going on. It looks like there's a choo 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 train, and then there's about 20 money bags and 4 glasses of red wine. Miles, I don't drink anymore, so all 4 of those glasses are for you. We're gonna get Miles fucking drunk tonight. It's gonna be awesome.
I am actually drinking beer, which I never drink much of, but I am a huge fan of red wine. But red wine, it was one day, it gave me the worst hangover ever. Really bad headache in the morning, and I don't enjoy it now. And also, when you're out and about, I think it was on my 30th birthday many years ago, and drinking lots of red wine, enjoying it, and all the photos of my birthday were ruined because I looked like a vampire, just like red teeth.
What do you mean ruined? That sounds awesome.
No, it looks terrible. Just can't I look like a vampire, blood-sucking vampire in all the photos. So now it's G&Ts, but they're a bit gassy with the tonic, and so I've gone with a beer tonight. It's all right.
Okay.
So yeah, cheers to everyone. Even if you got water, I've got some tap water. Tap water is what I drink the rest of the time. So good old water. Highly recommend.
Yeah, stay hydrated for sure. I never understand when people say we always talk about alcohol or liquor or beer or whatever, and there's always somebody who says, man, I had such a bad time on tequila that I can never drink it again, right? Or I had a night where I drank too much of this and I can never drink it again. And I'm always just like, what? Like I mean, I've been hungover thousands of times in my life, and I've blacked out probably just as many nights in my life, and I've done crazy shit, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I would never blame the tequila or blame the vodka or blame the rum or blame the brandy, blame the fucking anything, man. I wouldn't. It's all me, and if I was drinking, I would never stop drinking tequila. Tequila's fucking fun, and I'll never understand why people feel like they can grow out of that shit. It's too much fun.
I'm not good. I'm just not good with shots. But the association psychology of like when you have a drink that makes you feel unwell, or food actually.
Yep.
Like, bit of a random story, but teriyaki chicken. Do you like teriyaki chicken, Brian?
Sure. Although I have a bad feeling that you vomited it up and you'll never eat it again.
No. We don't. No. But basically, you have yo sushi in the States. I love these comparisons. You have yo sushi because I know you've got yotel, which we don't have over here.
I don't know. I don't even know what words you're using right now.
Yotel, or is it yo hotel? It's the Yo Sushi company has their own hotel company.
What's Yo Sushi?
Oh, so you don't have Yo Sushi?
I don't. Maybe we do. I'm the worst American there is. I'd be like, unless it exists within these 4 walls, I don't know if we have it or not.
It's a sushi chain. They have the conveyor belt stuff, but it's like you go there and then
I've seen the conveyor belt
stuff.
place.
And you go to a real sushi place. You're like, but anyway, I went with a friend and I'd never had teriyaki chicken before, and I had it and it was amazing. And then when I left the restaurant, I felt I was coming down with something. Got home, I had a fever that night, completely unrelated. But now my body associates teriyaki chicken with getting unwell. So now whenever I smell teriyaki chicken, it makes me feel rough because my brain's like, yeah, that made you ill. So you need to cry for me. I can't have teriyaki chicken anymore.
I'm so sorry. No, I don't care that
There's
much.
a lot of injustice in the world, Brian, but there's some things that are really beyond the pale, and not being able to eat teriyaki chicken.
But for every But for every bad side of things in the world, there's a good side of things in the world, and one of the good things we have in this world is our regular Sunday multiplayer meetup. And Professor Lilith with the $5 tip goes into some detail and says this Sunday, July 31st at 2 p.m. Eastern, the multiplayer game is Sairento. Moves only / shoot and glide your way as a cyberpunk ninja. Professor Lilith fails to mention, probably because there's a character limit in the tip, jumping, double jumping, backflips, swapping weapons mid-air, sliding. There's so much shit to do in Sairento. It is a lot of fun. If you guys don't know, we do a multiplayer meetup every single Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. This gives you an excuse to use some of those multiplayer games that you've got in your library. Some of them. How are we not doing Spark? What is happening?
Next week, please make it Spark.
It's got to be like the servers are going to shut down, and we're not have gonna done Spark. Not have gonna done Spark, and I should just go back to bed.
Sairento
not have gonna done Spark.
Only.
It is moves only, and it's only 2-player multiplayer. You team up and work through these stages together. All right. Here, I gotta keep moving through these tips. I know that. I think we.
You do the tips, Brian, and I'll get the viewer to take over questions up and ready.
All right,
and then we'll blast through them.
Do.
Hector Robles or Robles in the chat is doing the Lord's work. Every time someone likes the video, he's writing down the total.
Yeah, unfortunately though, because the chat's been so active, I've missed a fucking ton of tips, and I can't scroll back far enough.
Can you not?
Nope. And so I just lost a ton of fucking tips.
They disappear afterward. Do you not get it through the studio?
Yeah, I can't go back far enough. Somebody tipped and said, "Why don't you add a join button on the YouTube page?" And that's where it cuts off. I can't even see the username above it. I apologize, you guys.
Were they asking why you don't have a join button?
Yeah.
So that's YouTube membership.
I wish I could tell you guys who left the tip and how much it was for, but sadly.
If you tell us in the chat, we'll shout you out again.
Yeah. If anybody can go back and see the tips that I missed, please, somebody repost them for me so we can give proper shout outs to everybody who tipped. We just not used to seeing this number of people talking and having it move this fast. So my apologies. Why don't I add a join button on the YouTube page? Because we have nothing to give you. Currently, all the benefits right now are on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. That's where the exclusive videos are. That's where everything kind of happens. I will tell you that Discord, YouTube, and Patreon do not talk to each other the way that we'd like them to, and things are kind of a mess. So I would like to move everything over to YouTube at some point, just to kind of keep everything under one roof. But so that could very well be a thing soon. I do have Mark Pringlesleaf here with the 2 quid. Says, "How can you hate Miles? He's a great chap." I don't hate Miles. I would never hate Miles.
Is that the last one you can see? Because I'm scrolling through
the one above that is the is the one regarding the membership, and I can't see who left that.
The thing I will say about the membership stuff, and it was as I mentioned earlier, is I'm launching it on my channel on Wednesday, and it's going to be a good test case because, like Brian, I do use Patreon, and I do see the benefits of both. And so, based on that, it might be. I think actually, Brian should do membership, even if there's no extra offerings. It's just cool to have a little GameCat membership icon next to your name and having some special emojis in the chat.
Is there? You can do members. You can do free memberships. Can we do that?
Free memberships? No, okay. I don't think so. It'll be, but I think it's like minimum of like $2 a month. So it would be an extra thing you do. But I know GameCats would be up for it. I'd sign up for it.
All right. Well, we'll see. I'll see what we can make work. And really, again, sorry guys for anybody who left a tip that I missed. I thought I had this under control, and as usual, I do not. No one else can seem to scroll up.
I've been scrolling. I can't find it, but someone in the chat mentioned it, and we'll of course.
Oh, you got cold yogurt was the one that I. Was the one that I missed. Waleed is now a GameCat specifically. So thank you. You got cold yogurt for bringing up the topic. Waleed is now a GameCat specifically. White Tiger with a Canadian $2 tip says, "Get married soon, guys and gals."
Get married. Oh, is that as opposed to get married now?
Oh, as opposed to get well soon. Get married.
Get married now.
I don't
Get
know.
married now.
Thanks,
Saying
Waleed.
now just makes anything seem intimidating, doesn't it?
I feel like Waleed is jumping the gun here. I think I have to meet somebody before I can get married. But I mean, if there's another way to go about it, I'm down. I feel like we can skip all of the nonsense, dude.
Brian, it is time for viewers takeover.
Thank you.
Are we ready for some viewer takeover questions? Anyone in the chat, if you ever want to have your questions answered on the show before Monday with AJ, Wednesday with Wes, or Friday with me, Miles, go to viewer takeover channel on Discord and just post your questions there. And we try and go through as many as we can. Number one, we've got Arsik, the see-through game cat. I probably mispronounced that. I think many of us liked the blue glowing of the PSVR 1. Would you mod your PSVR 2 with LEDs to recreate this look, providing it doesn't interfere with the tracking, of course? I love this question because it is something I was thinking about, and it did remind me that when the DualSense controller came out for the PS5, we were talking about, oh, well, the DualShock 4 had that blue, the bar, the color bar, and they're removing that, and now it's like these sort of faint strips down the side. But as much as I miss those colors, I'm kind of, got used to it very quickly. I do love the blue lights. Like when I take photos of me wearing VR and you've got the lights on, it does look really cool, and it is going to be a shame to not have that anymore. What are your feelings, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, it's time to move on. I do think it looks really cool. I remember on day one, I remember Michelle came over. I'd been messing around with PSVR all day. Michelle came over. I've got pictures of her in the headset on day one. She's got pictures of me in the headset on day one. And the lights just looked so cool, especially when you have like a purple and blue Move controller alongside, it's a very cool aesthetic. But I'll tell you, I'm happy to get rid of the lights if it means no more light tracking. It's so, and what would happen, Miles? We'd install some LED strips or something on our new PSVR2 headsets, and it would screw up the inside-out tracking, right? And so like we'd go through all this time and effort to make it look cool, just to screw up, the brand new tracking system. We'd be peeling that shit off in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to stick stuff on your brand new headset. I mean, some might. But yeah, cool. By the way, everyone keeps asking me to say this word with my accent. I will only do it if we hit 300 likes in this live show. So there you go. Game on with the challenge.
Oh.
Next question. Shades of Hype Neutrality has asked us, considering Meta's recently announced price increase for the Quest 2 lineup, what do you think the chances are that Sony tries to undercut them on price? $349? And this was the one I was thinking about when we were talking earlier about, are they going to move the dates around? And I do wonder if, Sony is, at the moment looking at what the competitors are doing. But in terms of pricing, I've always said I look at the British pricing as sort of a bottom, like best case scenario. Because I know some people in the chat before have said, it'd be great if it was like $300. But it's like, but then the equivalent would be £250 in the UK. There is no way in hell it's going to be that cheap. $350 would mean £300. I just think that's going to be way too cheap for what it is. So I think it's going to be $399 and then £349 or $350 in the UK. I think it will be under the 400 mark, but could be wrong. I don't actually know what is happening with the pricing on Meta. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Brian?
Well, what's happening with the price on Meta is that in about 3 days, the price on all of their headsets is going up by $100 each SKU. It's going up by $100. The shit's been out for 2 years, and now they're increasing the price by $100. It's not how stuff's supposed to go down, Miles. I don't know if you're aware. In fact, this stuff's supposed to go down in price after 2 years. And then they're actually raising the price of all their accessories as well, which is just not so. And I'll tell you what, man, it just proves that shit's not going well over there, not the way that they want it to. And I'll say this about that is that I don't think Sony needs to undercut them. I think they can absolutely put the price at $400 and show, hey, if you want to put these two headsets side by side, and see what they're capable of, then that's all you need to do. That's how you undercut them, by saying for virtually the same price, you are getting this drastically different experience. Compare Horizon Call of the Mountain to even the best looking game on Quest 2. I'd say maybe Resident Evil 4, right? Like, it looks really good, but it looks like you put a 20-year-old GameCube game
right
into a headset and up the resolution. That's exactly what it looks like. In all fairness, that actually looks pretty good, but you just can't compare something like that to Horizon Call of the Mountain. I think people are going to go, yeah, you don't need to undercut them. Like, just sell at the same price, sell it even more. People will realize that the people are willing to spend money for something that's going to be awesome.
Right. If it was everyone had access to the same games and there's a competition on what headset are you going to wear to play them on, then yeah, it's about pricing is going to be a distinguishing factor. And, that's what the Quest 2 had been good at. But PlayStation, as you say, they don't. They do have they are playing in the virtual reality space, but they're dominating with their gaming offerings. And so, you're absolutely right. Premium product. And often we forget that reducing the price sometimes makes your product seem cheaper. Like, sometimes there is a benefit of having a more expensive price. You get a sense of, okay, this is a premium product. If I'm buying this, you associate it with quality.
David in the chat says $3.99 with Call of the Mountain. I think it's an interesting take, right? But I also don't think I think the smartest thing Sony can do is keep everything out of the box that doesn't need to be in the box, right? It's like, give us the headset and the controllers, and that's it, right? Because you want to make sure that you can sell it to us as cheap as you possibly can, right? They may or may not take a loss on it, but if you put in something like Call of the Mountain, where that they could easily sell for anywhere between $50 to $70 on its own, depending on the length and overall depth of the game. That selling that at full price could help them kind of make up for, I forget the word I was trying to use, kind of make up for the any hit that they might be taking on the hardware, right?
Right.
And so you don't want to put Call of the Mountain in the box. Unless, because you don't want to raise the price by $50. You don't want to put out a bundle and say, hey, it's $450 or $500 or whatever. You want to keep everything out of the box and then and sell it as cheap as possible. I saw somebody on Twitter who didn't know what they were talking about, saying, oh, this PSVR2 is going to launch at $400 for just the headset, and then $500 for the headset and 2 Sense controllers. And I was like, no, Sony themselves have been very clear about this, that every headset will come bundled with 2 Sense controllers. And so that's all I need in the box, man. Just make it as cheap as you possibly can and just put what the necessary stuff in there.
Well, I guess if you want to play Headmaster 2
right
on PSVR2, then yeah, you just get that. Well, I'm going to skip to Awesome Tatum, who asked a question on Viewers Takeover, which relates to this, which is, are we getting PSVR2 bundles at launch? And if so, what do you think they will be? Bundles always seem to come later, but again, I wasn't engaged in PSVR when it first came out. When it first came out, did it actually have any bundles? Or was it
sure.
Just, even at launch?
Yeah, even at launch, there was a PlayStation VR Worlds bundle, because don't forget, when Worlds came out, it was a $40 game. Right. They charged way too much for that thing. And I want to say that maybe the Worlds bundle was the one that came with the 2 Move controllers, and then there was just the headset on its own. So this is we're obviously talking about a much different sales strategy for the new headset, but yeah. So there was a bundle at launch, but. And I don't know, like maybe if they can sell the headset for $350 and then make the Horizon bundle $400, and then sell the Horizon game on its own for $60 or $70, right? And then make the whole package look more attractive. Be like, oh, I saved $10 to $20 if I buy this bundle. I don't know. There's maybe a way to do it, but I don't know.
If there wasn't a supply issue, because this is the thing, it's also what I thought about all the customizable plates for your PS5 that on the one hand, it's like, yeah, you can produce these, but at a time when people can't even get PlayStation 5s, are you really going to start, having other supply issues with creating other products? But a part of me feels that it would be a cheap strategy, but I think it would be effective, which is they could release PSVR2 bundles that come with games that aren't necessarily PSVR2 games. Mm-hmm. So you could have like the No Man's Sky or, I don't know, Skyrim with upgraded graphics. And that's a way of saying, like, for the people that are fans of No Man's Sky, this is your way of jumping in. And sometimes, actually, when I bought my PlayStation 4 Pro, and actually my PlayStation, no, it was just my PlayStation 4 Pro, sometimes the bundles just come with a code, don't they? It's not a physical copy of the game.
Yeah.
It's just his... and with a lot of VR games that are digital only, there's every chance that they just say, yeah, we'll just slip in the box. But then they don't even need to do that, do they? We talked about the collector's edition of the PlayStation Plus. What would the VR one look like? They don't even need to have different branding on the boxes then. They just say, if you buy PSVR2, you're going to get access to the PlayStation Plus VR collectors. And I think that is the way they're going to go if they're going to do anything at all.
Crikey in the chat, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, he says, I think it's going to come with a free game. I think they will make the PS5 version of Astrobot a VR game too. I think what I will say is that I think you're right about Astrobot. I think there will be some kind of Astrobot experience, right? Because Astrobot is now their character to introduce new hardware. Here's your PlayStation 5. Here's your DualSense controller. It would be insane to me. And that's what I think we'll get in the box, honestly. It's just like a free download for the Astrobot PSVR2 game or experience. Not even Rescue Mission 2, right? That sounds like a full a full game that we'll get in a year or two. This will just be the thing that introduces you to PSVR2. But I don't think we're getting a free game. Although
I don't think either.
You and I spent hours last week or the week before talking about all the free quote unquote games they could be giving us with a Plus collection, and I think that's the smartest move rather than putting something in the box itself.
Because also, I don't want to like bring the tone of the show to a really serious.
Oh, do it! I'm going to make you full screen.
Okay. When the PlayStation 5 came out, it was at a time where a lot of people were going through a lot of economic turmoil due to the pandemic. And the thing is that the economy has not got any better since. If anything, it's got a lot worse. In the news this week, we have there's a lot of talk in the UK about food banks. We have I think you call them food banks in the US as well, but these are places where people donate food. We even have like healthcare workers, saving people's lives that then have to use food banks because they can't afford to buy food because of the cost of living crisis. And it's even to a point where there are now people at food banks that are turning down free food because they don't have the money to pay for the energy in their homes to heat the food, like boiled potatoes or for the fridge and stuff. And there's a lot of talk this week in the news about heating banks might be set up for this winter. They're basically going to be places around the UK for people that can't afford to heat their homes so they can go there to keep warm. The reason I bring up this serious issue is like, in the grand scheme of things for gaming is a luxury. Like, we are incredibly lucky to be able to buy these, expensive tech products and in a way escape from the world in VR and enjoy all these different worlds. And the reason I bring that serious point up is because I'm pretty sure the collectors, PlayStation Plus collectors for PS5 was a part of Sony thinking, yeah, the economy's not doing great at the moment. We need to give more value for those that are going to be willing to, put their hand in their pockets and fork out for a $500 console. I think the case is even more that they need to give more value for people that are going to be willing to fork out not just for a PS5, but now for a virtual reality headset. And having a collector's PlayStation Plus, a PlayStation Plus collection for VR, the cost of that is virtually nothing. Because if it's for PSVR games that have already been released and are just going to be digital download codes, that's stuff that Sony is... If that's really going to be what persuades people to go out and get it, right. I'm going to spend X amount on a new headset, and I'm going to have 10 games to play from the get-go, even if they're not all particularly new games, that's going to be a much more enticing thing than I'm going to buy this headset, cripple myself financially. Oh, and now I've got to think about what game am I gonna buy. So yeah.
Wally is now a GameCast, specifically White Tiger with Canadian $5 tip. I want to make sure we get these tips. I am doing my due diligence in copying and pasting these things, so I don't let them get too far. I promise you guys. Canadian $5 tip says the first batch of PSVR2s will sell out day one, so Sony can price it a bit higher. However, the wow factor will be at $300 or $350. First impressions matters. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's absolutely. That is. I think that's what we have to be aware of, is that I think the first batch is absolutely going to sell out no matter what, right? Because we've got the early adopters who already have their PlayStation 5, who've had their PlayStation 5s for a while, and anybody buying a PlayStation 5 right now, just because PSVR 2 is on its way, these are people who are like ready, and a lot of us have been ready for 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years, long before PlayStation 5 even came out. So I don't think at all there's going to be any issue selling out the first batch. But you're right. I think that there is a message you need to get out there. If you're Sony, you have to say, we're fucking serious about this shit, and we want to make sure that every single person who's even remotely curious about VR is buying a PSVR 2 headset. We want everybody in.
That's absolutely it. And it's also about the branding. You don't want gaming. As we said, gaming is a luxury product, whether we like it or not. Like, it's a luxury to play virtual reality. But from an optics perspective, Sony wouldn't want their new product to seem like an elitist thing. Like, this is the elite club. It's only for rich people. And we know that isn't the case, but optics do matter. So when they do come out and say, look, we know it's been a tough year for everyone, so we're now doing these schemes, these free games and stuff like that, that really does cut through. I think it really does, because I do think about a lot of kids that, that might be in families that are struggling, and they go to school with other kids that have got the latest gadget. It's the classic example. And so anything that can be done to, lift the gaming experience for people that are struggling, I think that's good optically as well. And ultimately, they're companies. That's why they do it. They do it for optics and branding, don't they?
Right. Which further mystifies the entire meta situation right now. It's like, what are you doing this for? I've heard some rumors through the grapevine as to exactly the reasons why they did it, and it's not the reasons any of us thought. And I'll tell you, all it says is spelled doom and gloom for that company over there. Mako XL with a Canadian $10 tip says, "Am I in the right place?" Okay, I want Mako, take a second. Okay, I want you to look around. No, that's not me. That's you. Look around. Okay. Do you see any cats? Do you see any horror movies? Do you see any pizza? And most importantly, do you see any VR games? And if the answer to any of those questions is no, you're in the wrong place. Okay. GB, this Genetic Blasphemy keeps changing his name. Genetic Blasphemy, the first colossal chromatic gaming squid cat. You are absolutely the fucking first colossal squid cat. With a $5 tip says, I'm not the average consumer, but I would happily hand my bank card to Sony and never look at the receipt. I'd pay $100 extra for swappable cushions. He's talking about the padding in the headset. I'm assuming he's referring to as the cushions.
Mine's tearing out. It's actually the same as my PS5 headphones. The thing's coming off now, so I can see the same cheap material inside all these devices I've paid so much for.
Is it peeling out of the headset, or is it flaky, or is the outside
it's
layer
not flaking?
off?
No, it's literally like untucked, and now it's just showing the foam. It is flaking on the VR headset though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I would like some replaceable ones myself. We have more viewer takeover questions?
Yeah, we do. We have a few more. We'll go through these quickly. Brucey, Two Sheds Game Cat. Wow. When you finally get to open the door and receive a package with the PSVR 2, how do you think you will debut it on the channel, Brian? Live unboxing, setup and first impressions, or something pre-recorded?
Let me tell you, I made a lot of mistakes when it came to PSVR 1. I I don't know what people like. I'm learning what people like. I now understand after watching YouTube over the last 7 years. I realize that nobody out there is like me, and no one consumes content the way that I do. And so I have to like kind of reverse my thinking. Not not to be not to make the channel bigger, but to give the people who actually are watching the thing that they want, that they're here for, the thing that they want to see. And so I've learned quite a bit. And dude, you don't even know the plans I have for PSVR2. I
don't. He's talking to me as well. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's everything that you can possibly think of, man. Like, I mean, I just want to make sure that I have a video documenting, my first seconds, my first minutes, my first hours, anything that you might have a question about. I want to make sure I've got the answer in a video somewhere. And absolutely, it all starts with an unboxing video, and that depends. When do I get the headset? Does Sony send me one early, as a lot of people have suggested they should? I don't believe that will be the case. I feel like I'm going to be pre-ordering it with you guys and getting it on day one with everybody else. And so then how do I do the unboxing video? The unboxing video becomes a pre-recorded thing if I get the thing early, right? And then I'm under embargo and can't share anything, and then that releases the second embargo lifts. Like you can watch me open it up and pull out every single part of it. If I get it with you guys, then that's a live video suddenly, right? It's like I have thought this through over and over and over, and I'm just handling the PSVR 2. When PSVR 1 launched, I didn't know I was going to change the whole direction of the channel to just covering PSVR 1 for 6 years straight. We were covering retro games and current gen games. We were just a full-on gaming channel, and then I decided about a month or two into PSVR that I was like, this is all I want to talk about. I was always changing the course of the conversation during every single show to talk about PSVR 1, and my co-hosts were like, more of this. And then finally I said, I just want to talk about this all the time. And I was very, very fortunate that they came on board with me and said, we'll do this if that's what you want to do. We're down too. This thing's cool. So I felt very fortunate, but that meant I missed the whole launch, right? I didn't get to do all these cool launch videos, and in retrospect, I should have done them 2 months later, right? Just because for all the new people that were joining the channel, but I didn't realize that could be a thing. So yeah, I'm absolutely pulling out all the stops for PSVR 2. This is going to be a radically different experience on YouTube than PSVR 1 was, for sure.
The Silent Hill Game Cat said, "Let Tornado do the unboxing."
I'll get 2 PSVRs. I'll get one for her.
Yes.
Right, and I'll let her unbox one, and I'll post that on Tornado's YouTube channel.
Well, that will be what happens if you do pre-order it for yourself, and then Sony does send you one early anyway. Then you'll have to do that, yeah. Mm-hmm. That would do so well, man. That'd be a great video. I also remember IGN Destin doing the PS5 unboxing where he had like latex gloves on. It was the funniest shit I've ever seen. Like it took him forever to like get out the box because it wasn't easy. But yeah, no, I do remember that. Right, Twitcher the EFG asked on Viewers Takeover, what is tonight's 20 questions game? Not sure I can stay till the end, so I was hoping you could just let us all know right now. It's my turn to choose the game, and I don't actually know at the moment either. I always
okay. It's Minecraft. Okay. Minecraft.
Okay, I'm gonna have to choose. I'll choose again later.
All right, who's up next?
Spooperman.
Oh yeah.
Asked. While I don't know if this happened in the US, before the PSVR 1 launch in the UK, there was a number of demonstrations you could book an appointment for around the country. Mm-hmm. Do you think Sony will do this pre-launch for the PSVR 2? And what games would they have for consumers to play? You were mentioning on Wednesday's show with Wes something that we spoke about before, the idea that the best marketing for PSVR 2 is going to be the broadcast functionality. Yeah. And like that was my favorite thing on that blog, because I was always mentioning that I was disappointed with the terrible broadcast options on PSVR 1. During the pandemic, mentioned it many times before, the DualSense, 3D audio, haptics, all these things they wanted to show. They wanted to have stands all over the world, and the pandemic meant it couldn't be done. And so that was a real knock on their marketing. But people talk about it, and I think that actually the same reason that PlayStation doesn't go to a lot of events these days, they're smarter with their money. They know they don't need to actually they'll do invites for maybe influencers, but I think they're mainly going to rely on the fact that VR people are already going to be getting it. and then that is going to have a rippling effect. The fact if you want to broadcast and you be in it, you just need the HD camera. They know what they're doing. So yeah, I don't think there isn't going to be an effort for that other than for influencers.
You don't think? I mean, I know in a post. I love calling it a post-COVID world because everyone I know has COVID right now.
Yeah.
So we're like still in the midst of it. But do you think in a post-COVID world that people are going to walk into a store and see a kiosk with a VR headset and go, "Oh man, I got to try this thing," right? Like even if there's like a box of like alcoholic wipes or something, right? Like that's right there, so you can like clean it off before you use it, so you can sanitize it yourself, so you can feel safer. Do you even if there are kiosks for people to use, like in GameStop or Best Buys or whatever like that? I don't know what you have in the UK. I also don't care. Do you think people will? Do you think people will actually put the thing on their head because like, oh, I heard this was amazing. Roll a dice. Let's put this thing on.
Yeah, I just feel that, and look, this could be just me being in a bubble and not someone who does. Goes to a lot of game store. It's called Game in the UK. Very similar.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
I think we're just getting to a point now where it takes up space in the shop. Like,
yeah,
it's a lot of hassle. I think they're just going to rely on the fact that there's going to be a massive surge of people that get, as you say, the first batch will probably sell out very quickly, and that's just going to get the ball rolling. The world has changed a lot since the first one came out. The way that gaming is covered online. Anyone can make gaming videos now.
Everyone's a streamer. Everyone's a streamer.
Everyone's a streamer.
Right?
Everyone posts on Instagram. Everyone is an influencer. Even if they just they do Instagram for their friends.
Right.
When they have products, they'll show them, say this is amazing. You got to try it out. So yeah, look, I'm not denying these things couldn't happen. I just don't think it's going to be a concerted strategy from Sony.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I just feel like they have to hit the ground running. I feel like they have to cover all of their bases. They have to make sure that if there's a way to sell these things, that they are there to do it, right? Because I think Meta actually paved the way for a successful launch, right? Meta got people interested in VR. Meta got VR headsets on people's heads. Now it's time for Sony to say, yeah, but here's what a AAA game looks like in VR, and you've never seen anything like this before, right? How do you do that? Is it enough for streamers to do it? Is it enough to just throw a couple kiosks out there in the mall? Is it enough? No, I don't think any of these things are enough when you're trying to capitalize on the 100 million people that will ultimately buy a PlayStation 5. Selling to only 6% of that audience is not going to be enough again, right? I do think that if PSVR2 fails, we can pretty much say goodbye to PSVR3, right? If PSVR2 only sells 6 to 10 million units, I think that's the end, right? And so they need to take this really, really seriously, because I'm pretty sure that they know, because it's not even like Sony to give something like this another chance. PSP actually sold really, really well, enough to give them a reason to sell a PlayStation Vita, but then PlayStation Vita didn't sell all that well, and they were just like, you know what, we're going to pull the plug. PlayStation VR 1 didn't sell all that well, not comparatively, right? Mm-hmm. And like it did well for a VR headset, but I think Sony wanted to sell way more of those things, and so because of that, I'm actually shocked that there's a PSVR 2. It just actually shows Sony's commitment to the medium, to the platform. But I do think that this is it. If this doesn't work, then I think they're done. At least for a few years, right? Until VR becomes mainstream, and then they're like, oh, we'll come back now.
Yeah, for sure. The last viewer takeover before we get to the main topic is so Sony, and this is from Pipo the Mistaken NDA. That's a great name. So Sony always say soon at the end of most PSVR2 blogs. What does soon mean for Sony? 2 months? I mean, 2 months is soon in the grand scheme. Look, if PSVR2 is coming out in March, when we had the state of play was it in June? It was in June, wasn't it?
Yes, the beginning of June. From
June, if you're in June and you're looking at September, yeah, that's soon compared to March. So yeah, I've always believed this, and I'm standing by it. I do think that state of play. PlayStation Showcase in September is going to be absolutely huge, not just for flat screen games, but for PSVR2 as well. Yeah, it's going to be a massive celebration.
Agreed. I do think that I think that Sony's learned a lot of lessons, and they've learned a lot of hard lessons, and it's actually been the absolute correct thing for them to do, to pull out of Paris Games Week, to pull out of Tokyo Game Show, to pull out of CES. I mean, like they don't have this big presence at any of these shows anymore. E3 doesn't even really exist anymore, and so they. For them to have these concerted efforts, these big events, people. I think the fans have shown that they're not interested in these tiny little state of plays. Right? There's so much backlash when Sony goes, "Hey, even when they say, hey, we're just going to showcase a bunch of indie games." When they do a showcase, they do a state of play with a bunch of indie games, and then people get mad, right? But we told you it's just going to be indie games, and they're like, "We don't care. This isn't what we wanted." And so I think Sony's hearing that and says, like, you know what? It's like, let's pull it back. Let's only do a couple state of plays a year when we have a lot of cool stuff to announce. Let's do our big showcase in September, where it can be our own E3, where people get excited about everything all at once. Right? This is the moment you've been waiting for all year, and we're just gonna like hold back on all this information and just kind of like blow it off.
And it's one of the most viewed gaming videos every year.
Yeah.
Their showcase. Yep. And the reason they moved away from E3 in terms of dates is, why fight against the noise when you can just wait a couple of months and then it's open? You're not quite at Christmas yet. You're not quite at Black Friday yet, but you're past E3 and those events where there was some excitement. Some announcements were made. I can't wait. I really, really, really can't wait.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. All right, man. We got 2 tips, and then we'll and then we'll hit up the main topic of the show,
which is going to be a short one, to be fair. That's why we've had a lot of viewer takeover questions, but it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, we didn't want to shortchange you guys. We're like, well, we didn't want to just give you a 20-minute show because the topic wasn't going to be very long. Darth Vader, the Game Cat, with the $10 tip, said, I just want to thank Brian and all the co-hosts for giving absolute banger Gamescast. You all are the best. Hope we hear new info sooner than later for PSVR2. Yeah, to kind of follow up on the last viewer takeover question about soon, and to reference what Darth Vader's talking about here, I 100% thought we were going to get something PSVR2 specific before the September showcase, and I'm actually, obviously now that we're rolling into August, I'm like, well, that would be ridiculous. Like, is there going to be something big in August and then something big in September? Highly doubtful, but I'm kind of happy about it now. Because now when all eyes are on Sony, as you said, one of the biggest events in gaming of the year, when all eyes are on Sony, then they get to say that they get to shove PSVR2 down our throats and say, we don't care if you like VR or not. We need to show this to you because this is a big deal.
Because also, when PSVR games are normally shown on State of Plays and that, and people are annoyed, it's because, well, I don't have PSVR. Whereas when they show PSVR2, yeah, no one has PSVR2. Like, that's the thing. They're going to be showing stuff where everyone is on the same page. Now, there will still be people that complain because they don't care about PSVR2, but I think it's going to be a, I hate using the word game changer when you're talking about gaming, but it really is in terms of the industry and this technology. So, and also, but I do think although I was always set on September, and then there was mentions of we might get something a bit sooner. I was suspecting something, but the blog post for me was like, that was good enough. That's a good middle ground thing where it had some decent information, and it was the kind of information that would have been weird to put in a State of Play on its own.
Yes.
I thought it was an awesome blog post, like really, really cool. And as someone who's not used other headsets, seeing the view where you can look around you in the room, that's great. My only question on that, Brian, before we get to the main topic, is the looking out in the room around you. Does that allow AR games to be used? Because obviously I know that you can map out the room, and so you see on the floor the PlayStation shapes on the floor. That's very minimal, but would that actually allow you to have AR games as well, or is
full-on AR games? Anything's possible, right? Because
Right.
we don't actually know what's going on
Sure.
in the PSVR2 headset. But I would say no, right?
Yeah.
I think especially in I got to be honest, man. I think especially when it comes to Sony's, they are so dead set focused on gamer safety and in gamer comfort. And anytime I've used a pass through in another headset, well, Quest is what I've mostly seen the pass through in. It's not, there's a delay, right? Like you're not sitting there and it's like you're just looking through the headset. You're looking at a camera that's looking through your headset. And so there's a delay when you turn your head, when you try to walk through the room. Like if you try to walk through your room, you're probably going to trip and fall, right? Because like there's a disconnect between what's happening with your feet and what's happening with your eyes, even if it's a very, very subtle, delay. And so I would imagine, because again, you're seeing through cameras, that the same thing would be happening. I think Sony's just too cautious about consumer safety to allow it to be like, hey, now let's play a game this way. It's like, oh, that sounds like a terrible idea, actually. I think we'd see a dedicated device for that. But anything's possible. Who knows? Daniel Cat says it needs color.
That's true.
And if he means for a game, they could absolutely use the black and white background and post color things, on top of it, right? Like they could animate color graphics on top of your black and white room. But
because there was color, wasn't there? Because when you're looking at the floor,
yeah.
It has got. I'm just looking at the blog again. Yeah, the PlayStation. It has the blue and the red, so there is color. Obviously, yeah. The physical room, which in a way would be a safety feature, because it's like what is black and white is reality, and then the color is like an overlay. Having that difference.
Right.
Interestingly, when we start talking about PlayStation Home, there's an argument that could the AR be that you customize your actual room. So could you actually put your PlayStation trophies, like on the wall in your room or stuff like that? I don't know.
Dude, we still have 2 more tips, and then we'll tackle the biggest the topic of the day.
Nice.
All right. Looper, the Underground Game Cat, with the €5 says, I'm watching old videos from the channel. It's funny to see how skeptical Brian was about PSVR when it was first announced. Here's something I don't know if you guys know about me. I can't stand to watch back episodes that I've participated in. I used to be so hypercritical about everything I did on the channel that I would watch my reviews 100 times after they were done to be like, oh, what can I improve on? Oh, I can't believe I said it this way. Why didn't I change this in post? Whatever. And then GamesCast were like, I was like so hypercritical about myself that at a certain point I just had to stop watching and go, you know what? I think they're good enough. I think my performance is good enough. I just have to smile and nod and go, yep, this is the best I'm going to be. And maybe, hopefully over the course of a few years, I'll get better. I can't go back and watch those, or I will just fucking cringe from beginning to end. So I have to take your word on it. But it is funny to hear how skeptical I was about it, because I had no idea. I had no idea what to expect. So I'm not surprised, but it is funny to hear.
Sheetsy Hoosey Gamecat said a Kojima game where some scary shit stands looking at you through the see-through camera would make me piss my pants.
Yes.
I do know there was an iPhone game. I mean, there's probably lots of them now, but years and years ago, there was an AR game where in your house you turn the lights off and you go around with your iPhone camera and it maps on your rooms. So there are actually ghosts in certain rooms in your house. So, like,
there was a 3DS game that did that too, isn't there? Wasn't there?
Possibly, yeah.
The Spirit Camera, or was it The Hidden, or I don't know. There's a bunch of games that all kind of sound the same, and they all came out around the same time, so they all jumble up in my brain. But okay, and finally, Donatello the Scientist Game Cat with the $10 tip says, Kittens. They are rambunctious, playful, curious, and unconditionally loving, among other things. Even though cats scratch and bite, hurting me intentionally or not, I still love them, and I love you, cats.
Aww.
So sweet.
Nice. You remember on Windows they used to have the game Dogs with a Z at the end and Cats with a Z at the end, and it was on your desktop?
I don't know.
Oh no, on your desktop you could have like it was like a Tamagotchi, but it was like a virtual cat and dog. Maybe they could do that with the AR stuff for the PSVR2. So if you don't actually have a cat, you could have loads of kittens around you.
It'd be pretty cool. I just want to cosplay as a cat with big giant cat paws and a tail. Yeah. It's like, it's Brian, but in cat form. Yeah. All right, man. So what's our main topic of the day? What are we doing over here? What's going on? I'm so lost.
So we've talked about it, and like with a lot of these big topics, these aren't in isolation. These aren't topics that we've never mentioned before. But, sometimes we do these shows and there'll be a part where we talk about one thing and we go away and think, actually, one day we could actually do that as a full thing. So today's one is about when you put that PSVR2 headset on and you turn it on for the first time, what would be the dream scenario? Like, what would you like that opening menu to be? Now, I will caveat and say that from the recent PSVR2 blog post, I've got a concerning sense that we are just going to get a flat menu of the PS5. How do you think that?
Well, let's break that down a little bit, right? Like, the thing is what I wasn't considering really when we were breaking down the article on Wednesday was that we could have something very similar to what we see in Quest, which is you have a virtual space, right, that you're sort of inhabiting, and it's very, it's a VR room, right, VR landscape, and then you tap a button and it brings up the menu, which is just a flat screen. It's basically a cinema screen that's hovering. You can move around, put it wherever you want it, but it's hovering just in that virtual space. So here's your flat screen, which is kind of crazy, for something like Quest that is not also a flat screen device, where all your interactions are still being done on a flat screen within the VR space. So you would think, oh, I'm going to grab this cube and like throw it into this machine to start the game or something more interactive. But yet here we are. We're just kind of like clicking our way through a menu on a flat screen, which is really strange to me when you think about it. So I think at the absolute bare minimum, that's what we'll get. We'll still get this virtual space, but then we'll also get this home screen that's just sort of floating there. And it could very much be our PlayStation 5 home screen. Who knows? My only hope, Miles, is that my one hope is that they make it laser pointer activated rather than, you're just using the analog stick to navigate it like you would be on your actual home screen.
Dude, with PSVR 1, when you go to the menu, it's like, I've got to pick up the DualSense controller now to flick through to the game I want. Like, that alone has just been so annoying. And so, like, look, the big idea that Brian and I have, and many of you have, is could PlayStation Home make a comeback or some kind of thing? Because we keep mentioning the dream for me is you put it on and you spawn in this virtual room that you're in. And it means that you have access to so many different features that we'll talk about, and really interested to hear in the chat what your thoughts are on it. And so, we mentioned things in the past like, having a cabinet for your trophies, PlayStation trophies to be there. You can choose which ones you want to be at the forefront. Iron Man VR had, the trophies appear in the game. That was kind of cool. What if someone said they'd love it if there was a PlayStation 1 home screen? What if in your room you could actually go over and there's a PlayStation 5 there, or every PlayStation, so there was actually a PlayStation 1 there and you could actually play PlayStation 1 games in the room? Like, really, there's a lot of self-referential stuff that's done in games, like in Doom Eternal, spoilers, but in your Doom base, you're actually able to unlock the original Doom games, which is like such a crazy thing to think that something that used to once be sold as its own game is now an Easter egg in a future game of the series. What if there were movie tickets by the front door, and when you go over them, it's like all the latest Sony releases, and you could actually choose one, and then either via payment or if it's a part of some package. I know they were testing in Poland, PlayStation Plus coming with like a movie offering as well. What if that could be a way for you to then check out and see movies? What if you could invite people over? There's just so much that could be done. But to kickstart this, Brian, before we get into more imaginings, I wanted to pull up this article by Richard Warren. It was a GameRant article that was from February of this year, I believe. And we won't read all of this, but the idea of PlayStation Home making a comeback is not, a unique idea. Lots of people have been thinking about it again and again. There was also news this year that Sony were they updating the trademark for PlayStation Home? So straight away, people are freaking out, going, "Oh, is it making a comeback?" There's no guarantees, but at a time when the metaverse is going to be this battleground, some kind of PlayStation Home does seem like an option. And so I'm just going to read a few extracts of this article. So, like, right at the top, Richard writes, with PSVR2 coming soon. I kind of laugh him saying that in February. Like, February seems like a long time ago, right? And we were talking about what does soon mean earlier. He says PlayStation Home should make a comeback, and Media Molecule could be the best studio to develop a new version. And so he says in the first opening paragraph, PlayStation Home was a truly unique social game for the PS3, and it is remembered fondly by those that spent time with it. In the game, players made their own avatars and entered a virtual world where they could purchase their own outfits and apartments, living out a second life within a PlayStation-focused universe. Players could collect items and explore areas based on iconic PlayStation franchises like Uncharted. I remember there was Resistance, and meeting up with new people and making friends in the game's busier areas. Those that spent even a bit of time in the free-to-play game will likely remember the larger group of gamers on the dance floor or watching shows like The Tester in the Games Theatre.
Oh, I remember The Tester. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember too. Unfortunately, all players have our memories, as PlayStation Home was shut down on March 31st, 2015. It was in 2008 it came out, I believe.
Yeah.
While no alternative was offered during the PS4 generation, now may be the perfect time to bring it back, and Media Molecule could be the best member of the PlayStation studios to develop it. Brian,
yes,
what are your memories of PlayStation Home? For GameCats, some of them that have voted in the poll already saying, what's PlayStation Home? Like, what is your memory of it?
My memory of it was like, even at the time, I was kind of like, what's the point of this? This seems a little bit clunky, and it seems a little bit, I guess I look back at it now and go, it was before its time, right? It was like, this would be a perfect, Second Life type app for the PlayStation brand. But at the time, it seemed like it had a lot of great ideas that didn't quite come together all that well. The PlayStation 3 was notoriously long load times, and that was the first. It was the first PlayStation console that came internet enabled at launch, right? You didn't have to buy like an adapter and an external hard drive and all this other stuff like you did with the PS2. And so like it just felt like it was the very beginning of all of these things, and because it was the very beginning of online and like they're doing these HD games for the first time, between the load times in the access times and the buffering and whatever else, it just, the whole thing just sort of felt really clunky. But it was still cool enough, and it was free, that it was always populated. You would jump in and there'd just be hundreds of people standing on a beach, and you'd be like, I'm just going to walk up and like, why? I didn't do a lot of like talking. I did a lot of voyeurism, I guess. So where it's like,
there wasn't a lot of chatting options though, was there? Because it was, a lot of it was like, you the main thing was predetermined like conversation.
But you could type though, I think, right? Wasn't there an attachment for
type.
The PS3?
Yes,
DualShock 3 with like a little mini keyboard on it. It was like a little Bluetooth.
That is true as well,
right? It was what the fuck was it called? It was just like
You're right. It clipped on the top of it.
Yeah, and it just had a full keyboard. I forget there was a name for it, but I forget what it was. And so there were people I believe taking advantage of that and having full on conversations, like basically texting each other while standing in front of each other. And so I was always kind of enamored by all of PlayStation Home. Just the fact that it existed, that because it was free, it meant that like a lot of people were using it. We talk a lot about kids who have consoles only get like maybe a game or two a year, and so this was like their social hangout space pre-Rec Room. They get to jump in, hang out with their friends, meet new people, and it was all free. It was just included as part of this beta, and so it was always populated, which meant it was like very much like Rec Room, very immature, an immature audience, but still like I was fascinated by the fact that this world existed, and it was always just sitting there on my PlayStation 3 home screen waiting to be accessed.
Yeah, I had very similar memories. And actually what you mentioned at the beginning about you first join it and you're like, well, what is this? And like, what am I going to do? I find that gaming, especially over the last decade, I mean, games in the early days were very much, here's a level, you get from A to B. And, there's one way of completing the level. And then you have open world games where there's a lot of quest lines and structures. But there's a lot of games that come out now where they don't hold your hand and you just go out there and you just do what you can. And I know for some people, they don't like that. I remember when getting my dad to play Stanley's Parable, he literally, and for those that don't know, Stanley's Parable, you have a narrator, and the narrator tells you like what the story is, and you just can either do what he says, or you can divert. And when you divert, the narrator then starts questioning what you're doing. When my dad played that game, he literally just did what the narrator said, and he got to the end and went, "So sorry, what was the game?" And it was like, but that's because my dad was an old school gamer. Like, he hasn't gamed for years, and that's because, yeah, when games first came out, that was it. And so there are a lot of people that are very averse to games where I don't like having too much freedom. Some people talk about that, like with Elden Ring, the open world aspect of it, of like, yeah, I just find this too overwhelming. Like, you don't actually know where to go. In Elden Ring, when you get quest lines, you don't actually get a notepad telling you what quest lines you're on. You actually have to remember them. So you might actually forget like who you've spoken to and stuff like that. And some people love it, some people don't. And the reason I bring that up is, like, I think that we're at a point now where home, you know, there are so many social experiences in gaming, especially in VR now, that kind of like we say with PlayStation VR 1 when it came out, there was a real push for adoption because it was new. Whereas for PSVR 2, there's going to be a mass adoption to begin with because people are ready for the upgrade, and that's going to get the ball rolling much quicker. I also think that if, you know, PlayStation Home or something similar came to PSVR 2, the way that the gaming space has evolved over the last couple of decades with more social experiences, and, you know, regardless of what we think of the metaverse, the point is that metaverse-esque experiences have been embraced, whether it's live events on Fortnite or Dreams does their annual DreamsCon. I don't know if it's called DreamsCon, but where they showcase, you know, people's creations and stuff like that. I think it's really... And Grand Theft Auto Online, one of the best examples. You know, some people would go, so what are there? Well, there are missions if you want to do it, but a lot of people like to just drive around with their friends and shoot each other and stuff like that. I find that really, really exciting, and it means that there's really fertile ground for, you know, PlayStation clearly have considered bringing this back. The question is, are they actually going to do it?
Yeah, and so I think the big question here is like what we've seen from Sony recently is Sony has sort of just stopped competing with people who are doing things better than them. That's what I've seen recently. They stopped using communities and then invested in Discord. They're like, Discord is doing communities way better than us. Let's invest in Discord and partner with them. Cool. Actually, really good idea, Sony. And then they were like, oh, Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and all these other streaming services are doing movies way better than we are. Let's drop our service and just make sure that, you know, we support these guys. And I'm like, less cool, but okay, right? And so when we see things like Rec Room that are kind of already giving us this social space, this place to hang out, because don't forget, like as cool as home was, it wasn't actually bringing us to games, right? We weren't meeting up with our friends and doing all these things. When we talk about what we want in a PSVR2 version of home, it's a much different thing than we got on the PS3 flat screen version of home, right? We want our own apartments that we can decorate. We want to we want to be able to hang out with our friends. We want to invite people over and have these social hangout sessions. Yes, there was a big screen type thing. You could walk into a theater, and I actually did watch things with other people. I watched episodes of The Tester in a movie theater on my PlayStation 3 and thought, boy, this is silly. Like, I could just be watching this and like it would be way less, there'd be way less lag and way less buffering, and the resolution would be way better. But yeah, you know, but then there's things like big screen that already exist. There's things like Rec Room that already exist. Is the competition, if you can call it that, are they doing well enough already for Sony to not even want to bother to try to create something like this for PSVR2. They say other people have this shit covered. Why would we want to dip our toes into it, spend a lot of time and money? Dude, how the PlayStation Home beta went on for 8 years and never came out of beta. You know how much time and money they fucking probably wasted and didn't end up with a final product that they ever used for any kind of decent amount of time. I can't imagine that they sold enough, cosmetic clothing to make all that time and effort worthwhile. Maybe they did. I could be wrong, but I'd be curious to find out. So I feel like they've already realized that maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
I love that. I love that question about, there is competition out there, so why do it? And I will get to that in a moment. But I will say, Rec Room is still technically in beta. I say technically. No, it is still in beta. It's still called Rec Room Beta. This goes back to the conversation we had earlier about, the competition with VR hardware. What Sony has is IP. That is why that they don't have to be fighting in the same, even though they are selling VR headsets and so are Meta, they are in different spaces. And I kind of feel the same with, they want to own their own metaverse. And they will be like, okay, Rec Room is very successful, very popular. Rec Room does actually have IPs involved. I think they just had an NBA season. So the main Rec Room space had all this basketball themed stuff and that was very cool. Not sure it's the most appealing to mainstream gamers as a whole, but it was kind of cool. Whereas actually, if PlayStation was creating a social space where you could literally dress up as your favorite PlayStation characters. We talked about that PlayStation advert with the guy that gets the meat on the plate and then goes back in his basement. He's got all these different items from different games. There's a lot of hints to the direction, and again, it might not be called PlayStation Home, but there could be something similar. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, listen, I've been paying attention to the chat, which is something I'm terrible at doing normally. So I want to share with you, Miles, what the chat has been saying about PlayStation Home.
Please do.
Steve IRE, telling it like it is. He says, it's going to be shit. You just know it. Sony's going to be as lazy as possible with the UI. I like when people bring us back down to earth, Miles, because we do dream big here, right? We're very optimistic. We think that Sony's giving it their all, but so they have proven over and over. And I think this might be a good time to mention that PlayStation 5 again still feels like it's sort of in this beta phase. We don't even have folders yet, right? I think folders were just introduced in the new beta that they dropped. And so it's been 2 years. Why didn't we get folders on day one, right? That was something that made PlayStation 4 so much better. And so I do think that it's very possible we'll get bare bones UI, bare bones PSVR2 integration with PS5 on day one. And then over the course of a year or 2 years, that we start to see these virtual environments. We start to see virtual hangout spots. We see Sony's little metaverse, if that's what they want to call it, or Sony's home space grow and grow and grow and grow over time. They don't seem like the type of company that's just been secretly developing this massive ecosystem with all these shops and all these hangouts and all these movie theaters and whatever, right? And boom, drop it on day one. That's what it was. The exact same thing they did with Home. That's why it was in beta for 8 years, because they just kept adding and adding and fucking with it, right?
Yeah, and this was an issue that in previous conversations I spoke about, which was why GTA Online did so well in ways that Home couldn't, and because Home was a PlayStation first-party property, there are things they can't allow happening in it. Voice chat, they'd have to moderate it because it represents what Sony is. That community, whatever's happening in real time in Home is going to reflect on the company. So I just wanted to make that point and then line it up with the other, which is Sony has been investing a lot into Epic Games, and Epic Games has been known for doing live experiences through Fortnite, and it wouldn't surprise me if Sony are lining up with Epic Games to make a metaverse, and then they'll have a deal going. Yeah, Epic Games, like they've done with Fortnite, they have all these IPs from various games. They say, no, we will give you the IPs to our games if you create the infrastructure. and then that's kind of like one step removed from PlayStation. So it's kind of like if there was some controversy about something that happened in the metaverse, obviously it's not desirable that they're associated with it, but it's actually a lot less risky than if it was on Sony's platform. And although it might seem like a bit of a trivial thing to say, well, technically any Sony game, there could be some controversy. You know, when it comes to multiplayer, there are fixed things like, you know, you have a move set that your character can do. There is rules in that game. Yes, you can have voice chat, but you mute people and stuff. When you have a social space, a metaverse where you're creating an avatar that represents yourself and you're in virtual reality and you're interacting with people in a social space, that's a whole nother level. And the sort of the various potential there is for you know, abuse to happen, or, you know, things that Sony wouldn't want to be associated with. You know, you could look at stuff in Dreams, like if someone creates a Super Mario World game in Dreams, Dreams will keep it up unless it gets reported by Nintendo, and it will get taken down. But if that was, and even though it's although Dreams isn't Media Molecule, they're not first party, are they? They're third party, or they?
No, I believe Sony owns Media Molecule.
Yeah, or maybe they do. I had a feeling that they just work really, really closely with them, but I think you're right. Oh yeah, I did say the word. They wanted me to say controversy.
Oh, that was the word. I did. I didn't even know. I didn't even know, but my ears perked up when you said it, because it's a very British way of saying it. You don't say garage, right? You say garage.
I say garage. Yeah.
Media Molecule has been creating games since it was founded in 2006, and Sony acquired the company in 2010, a few years after Media Molecule's first big success, Little Big Planet.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But even there, Home was literally, I mean, it was done by London Studios, but it was pretty much a Sony. Do you know what I mean? Like, the degrees of connection you have with a property, even if it's only a slight difference, makes a huge difference in the optics of, you know, PlayStation Home is the most risky gaming environment you could make.
Yes.
That's the main point I'm trying to make.
I bet Sony's really happy that they don't have to worry about what happens in Rec Room.
Yes.
Right.
People are already quoting the clip of the week from last week.
Right. Leave the onus.
The guys call me a bitch. You're a bitch. Did you call me a bitch? No.
That's what that is. I was wondering what was happening in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I missed something here.
I didn't call you a bitch. You're a bitch. Oh, okay. But yeah, that's the thing. Sony doesn't want to deal with that. Like. Yeah.
Well, which is funny because so Delirium, apparently Straight Edge Delirium with the double X's, said PSVR2 Home would be great because it gives them an excuse to use eye tracking. So we get to see guys staring at girls' avatars' asses who are probably just guys sitting in their room with Cheeto dust on their shirt. So we get to watch guys staring at other guys cosplaying as hot girls.
Well, it's a funny point, but it is an interesting one we spoke about before about eye tracking and the implications of it. Of it's going to be a new form of moderation of because there's a lot of conversations in ethics of VR about people getting in people's personal spaces, about abuse or sexual harassment from one avatar to another. It's a really interesting new world that we're moving into about the ethics of avatars and stuff like that. And yeah, eye tracking is going to be coming into that of
I just love the idea of, you know, being like Homelander from The Boys or whatever, and you have these laser eyes, like just like demolishing everything in your sight, or using your eyes as selector devices, right? Being like, boom, I want to play that right there, boom, got it. Yep. Dude,
does that mean we're no longer be able to teabag in VR? Is that now?
I don't see why
when you kill
not.
an opponent. I know they're dead. They're dead, so it's fine.
Yeah. Dude, Dan Kiefer gives us a little bit of imagination here, and it says, "Imagine being completely surrounded by all the tiles you own in a sphere around you. Point and play." I want to take that a step further, and I played Super Kit, To the Top Super Kit on PSVR last week, and the way that you restore one of your hearts, your health, is you pick this up. It's got two grips, right? And you pull it apart, and like this heart, like, you know, like emerges, and like, you know, you get a heart back in your health. I want to do that with folders, right? I want to grab a folder and pull it apart and have all the games in that folder go and like line up in front of me and go, I want to play this one. Let's do it. I don't know. There's all sorts of cool VRAF ways you could make menus interactive like that.
Yeah.
Before I don't know how much more of this article you want to read, Miles, but I do think that one of the best points that was made in the chat recently came from Mr. K7__ Just says home was an advertisement space. I think that's something important you should talk about. I think there is still nothing like home when it comes to that aspect of it. It was so cool to be like, oh, I'm so excited about this game Siren Blood Curse that's coming out. I know nothing about it other than the fact that I played Siren on PS2. And then you could just boot up home and go to the Siren hub, right? And you could hang out with other people, talk about Siren. You could like go into some amusement park ride type thing, which by the way, I never got working on PS3, so I don't even know what the Siren game was, what the attraction was. I stood in line for a long time. I could never get it working, so I don't know what that was, but I definitely went and played like lots of other mini games for lots of other different, there was a game called Sodium that I think was this futuristic racer type thing, very Wipeout style, and you could play it in home, but the whole thing was just an advertisement for some energy drink, I think. And so to be able to kind of like mix advertisements with gaming and have it be beneficial to gamers and the advertisers and not have it feel like it's like kind of forced down your throat, I think is a really cool thing. And that can extend even further to the cosmetics. Like if I'm in a VR home space, I want my avatar to look how I want my avatar to look. And so I will gladly walk in a virtual mall and spend real dollars. I'm a guy that's pretty much against microtransactions in all of gaming. Other than like cool DLC, I guess, but like this is an exception to the rule. I want my play space, I want my apartment, I want my character to look the way I want to, and I will walk into a store and spend actual real money to make that happen. So that when people come over and they see me and they see my apartment and they see my setup, they're like, "This is kind of fucking cool." Right? And and it's going to be a virtual space I spend a lot of time in, so I want it to be cool for me to inhabit. I want it to be I want it to be relaxing for me and enjoyable for me to live in, right? To virtually live in. So especially when I look around at my apartment and go, Jesus, I need a break from this. Like, let's go to a much cooler hangout spot,
For sure. Well, okay. We were talking earlier about features we'd like to see, and something you mentioned at the start there made me think of this. So I just want all the game cats and you, Brian, to just imagine, let's dream for a moment now. It is 2023. It's September. And PlayStation announces a special PlayStation showcase for VR. And it's held in PlayStation Home. And so everyone meets up in VR for this special virtual reality conference. Jim Ryan comes out, maybe, in his VR stuff. Hey, everyone. Or however he talks. And then they say, here are the VR games coming out over the next year. And during that conference, they don't show it on a flat screen in the VR space. You literally go into it. And it's like you go from one VR experience to the next. Fortnite does it with their live events where your character gets teleported through all these different worlds. The future of VR conferences could be you meet up and then you are literally taken through the trailers. They're like interactive trailers where you're actually playing segments of the games. It's a big dream. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but like a lot of these conversations are about like what the potential future could be. And I think like, in a year's time, even if there isn't a home or component like that, there is an opportunity where Sony could actually start making interactive showcases using the VR component.
Yeah, agreed. Do you want to get back to this article? Because I feel like...
Do you know what? I'll read a couple more paragraphs of it, which it's underneath the headline. PlayStation Home 2 would fit well on PSVR 2. A lot of this is going to go over stuff we've already mentioned, but it'd be cool to just quickly read this. So he also mentioned, given the success of VR chat and the endless discussion around the metaverse, it is easy to think of VR functionality making PlayStation Home 2 even better. Fortunately, Media Molecule has experience in this area, meaning that it could undoubtedly do something special with the technology. Players could have the chance to explore the PlayStation-inspired worlds made by Media Molecule, and PlayStation fans actively participating in mini-games and seeing characters through a VR headset. Given how powerful PSVR 2 is based on its it would likely have no problem running something like a PlayStation Home. Assuming that the games take a free-to-play approach like the original, it could be a great way to show off the power of the device while instantly giving all adopters of the headset something to play. Being able to see and talk to other gamers through a video game is a great alternative to real-life meetings, and a VR mode for PlayStation Home 2 would be an excellent way to capture the idea. And he just talks about a bit later on, the original PlayStation Home was heavily limited by its long load times, as you mentioned, Brian, as the PS3 took forever to get players to where they wanted to go. The PS5's wildly fast load times would take this issue away, with the hypothetical sequel's graphics also sure to be a huge step up. So, this has all been talked about. It may not be PlayStation Home, but I do think Sony is running fast at the metaverse, and they realize that there are two components to the PSVR technology. There's the games that you actively or make an intention of, I want to play this right now with my friends, and then there is what do you want to do with the rest of your time. And there's a lot of PSVR games that do well, like Rec Room, like Zenith, where actually having the ability just to stand around and chat has huge value. We live in an attention-based economy. It's all about mind share. And so social space is definitely what they need to be developing. And I don't know, it's going to be another exciting component of PSVR 2. And I can't wait to see what the future brings, Brian.
Agreed. And I think it's interesting that, we've been kind of tapping into this article here a little bit that's been saying Media Molecule should be the people developing this new home space. And I agree for multiple reasons, of course, mostly because it works perfectly in VR and outside of VR. And I think this, whatever Sony's metaverse ends up being, if they end up creating something like Home again, it needs to be playable on the flat screen and in VR. I think that's really, really important, right? Like, include as many players as possible, and also to make, I think something like that would make VR more attractive to people. So they're like, oh, I can do this, I can, my hangout space that I've gotten really accustomed to for 6 months, 8 months, a year, is suddenly like, oh, wait a minute, I can play this in VR. I can be interacting with these people in like first person and kind of real time-ish sort of thing. I think it's really important. But we were looking it up before the show, Miles, and we saw that London Studio actually made the original Home. And we know that London Studio is still working on PSVR2 stuff. It's like they're not like abandoning the VR space. And I think the last time we checked in, they were working on something that was multiplayer focused. And I would be very, very interested to see if Sony would tap into somebody like Media Molecule or stick with, be like, hey, you guys already developed this thing fucking 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I don't remember how long ago things were anymore. 2008, right? You already have a lot of experience in this space. Why? I don't know if it'd be a smart move to jump ship and go, hey, let's get a developer who hasn't even implemented multiplayer in their own game yet to be the ones to develop this massively multiplayer world. I think maybe London Studio would be the right choice for this.
Yeah, that's a great call. Absolutely.
Hey, we should probably check in with this chat, man. The 270
and the
people
poll. We have
voted.
A poll we need to go through and close.
Here, I'm going to close the poll. So hurry up. I'm going to give you 10 more seconds to vote.
And by the way, 272 votes and 162 likes. There is a disconnect there. People like polls more than they like likes. Outrageous.
We give the people what they want, man. We give the people what they want. True.
I can't shame them for that.
All right. Hopefully everyone got their vote in. I'm going to close the poll and let's take a look at the final results. It's around here somewhere. Here it is. All right. With 273 votes, would you want PlayStation Home to be the PSVR2 UI? 17% said no. Which is, I'd love to find out why they wouldn't want this. I didn't hear a lot of people giving reasons why they wouldn't want Home to be the PSVR2 UI. 62%, overwhelming majority, said yes, I'd love it, and 21% have no idea what PlayStation Home is. Which is
interesting that more don't know it than were against the idea.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's an old game, and even though it closed in 2015, by then, hardly anyone wasn't being talked about. So yeah, there is many generations of gamers that just didn't know about it.
For sure. All right, man, we are way over our time, so let's stretch this thing out just a little bit longer. And
we genuinely thought this was going to be a short episode.
I know full well at this point. I strap in, I strap on, and get ready for this to be my night. We haven't done a short episode in a while. I think even the AJ episode this week was almost 2 hours. But
it's great. It's all about the pacing, how it feels, and I don't know about you, Game Cats. Hopefully, you feel that this didn't drag.
I'm delirious.
That is
so
our number one objective when we do this.
Yeah.
Don't drag. Don't drag.
All Yours History, I think, is trolling in the chat. It says more cartoony games is what we need. Down with realism.
And with realism.
Matthew Longo says cartoony for life. I think they're all just trying to piss off our resident gamer witch, Emily Baxter. All right, man. It is time, as it always is at the end of the show, for PSVR. I'm saying it real slow so you can pick a game.
I've got a game already. Don't
PSVR
worry,
20 questions. That's when Miles
20 questions.
Picks a PlayStation VR game, and then you guys in the chat and me have 20 yes or no questions to figure out what game it is. I need all the help I can get. You guys, please help me out. Right? I'm gonna ask some questions. You guys help me with the questions. As we get the answers to said questions, please suggest games that it could be based on his answers. I know that sounds like it doesn't need to be said, but it does.
Oh shit! But it can't be Minecraft. Okay.
Well, it could be Minecraft.
Could be a double bluff there.
All right, if you're ready, I'm going to put 6 minutes up on the clock from the count of the way that Jeremy likes it. On my mark, get set, and go. Is this game cartoony?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, we got a yes right off the bat. Good to see the chat's helping me out, and they didn't even realize it.
Is it Minecraft?
Does this game have multiplayer?
No.
No Minecraft. That takes care of that. Mancunian GameCat says, is there full locomotion?
Yes. 3.
Okay. Did we discuss this game? I'm going with Ian Marsh's comment, which is all in caps for some reason. It's like screaming. Have we talked about this game, or has this game been mentioned this episode?
No.
Oh, look at that.
Good one.
Yeah.
I thought you were literally going to say 30 seconds earlier, because then I would... No. It's not Minecraft.
Are there any survival elements in this game? Ask Nick the Game Cat how.
Can you define survival elements?
You have to do things to survive, like eat or drink, things other than killing enemies to survive.
No. I'm going to say no.
Okay, no survival. I'll go with Rypop's question. Are there any platforming elements in this game?
No. I'm going to say no. 5.
Is this game, Mark Stevenson? I'm gonna use your comment, but go wider with it. Is this game based on an existing IP?
No.
Wow.
6.
Can this game be played in flat screen? A flat screen version?
Yes. 7.
Okay, so guys, here's what we do know about this game. It's cartoony. There's full locomotion, and you can play it on the flat screen as well. We also know there's no multiplayer or survival elements. There's no platforming, and it's not based on a known IP. Interesting. Let's narrow down the controller. Good idea. Does this game use analog sticks?
It does. 8.
Can you play this game with the aim controller?
Yes, you can. 9.
Does this? Okay, we got to eliminate battle. I mean, we got to. does the flat screen version of this game have multiplayer?
No.
Okay, that eliminates
Great question, though.
that eliminates Borderlands. Ian Sandbridge has No Man's Sky, but no Man's Sky has multiplayer. Borderlands is a known IP. That's smart. Damn it. AIM, you guys, AIM. An AIM game that also has a flat screen version. That's the biggest hint. An AIM game. Is there... it's cartoony as well, so that's... Oh, wait a minute. No, Dick Wilde doesn't have flat screen versions. Cartoony AIM games. This isn't a puzzle game, is it? Is there a puzzle game?
Yes, it is.
Does this game really wish it was Portal?
No.
Okay, not Chromagun. Sorry, guys. Okay, so it's a puzzle game that uses the AIM controller. It's cartoony, also flat screen. Yeah, Dan Kiefer, I'd love to know what we aim at, but we need a yes or no question. It's not Iron Duty because it's not multiplayer. It's not Doom because it's not cartoony. Wait, Nick nailed it. Oh, yes. Does this game have a massive GameCat secret in it?
Yeah, it does.
Does this game also have a massive Miles Dyer secret in it?
Yep.
Nice. Is this
14.
game, by any chance, boxed in?
It is boxed in, Brian.
It's crazy. If you guys
it's a weird one with the AIM controller flat screen, isn't it? It is a really interesting combination on there. But yeah, it's boxed in. There is a massive castle in it with statues of me in it, which is still embarrassing to think about because it was all of a joke I made. Oh my goodness.
So crazy. What was the gentleman's name that made this game? I forgot.
It was Richard.
Richard, that's right. So
from Red Chain Games.
Yep. This is one of those games that I was like, oh, this is gonna be terrible. Like we saw it, I mean, this is not gonna go well. And man, I think once you get in, especially when you use the AIM controller and like you're running around this playfield and all these colored blocks are coming at you, and you're just like trying to make it's like a match 3 or match 4 type game. It does get very, very addictive very fast. Right, one of those. Just one more try. And what I'm showing here is that he loved this community so much that he actually implemented. You had to be very. There was only a very specific way to access the secret area, but he made a GameCat Island with so many inside jokes, right?
So good.
Yeah,
and it was, and the two questions that I was very particular on, survival elements.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what you meant, but I wanted to be absolutely sure, because if you said, could you die in it? Like, it's like, well, yeah, you can if you get crushed in. I know it's not really. And then the other thing was, is it a platformer? And if you're playing in one of the modes where it's top down, you actually do platforming, jumping to get across to stuff. Yeah, no, it's an awesome game. And do you remember what you gave it as a review score, Brian?
I don't remember, but I know this is one of those games that's sort of like whatever I gave it was partially because he charged so little for it. Like, wasn't like a $6 game, right? And so you don't rate a $6 game on the same scale as a $60 game, right?
Right.
You're like, should I spend my $6 on this? I don't know. Yeah, 7.0. Yeah, probably you should. This is really fun.
Yeah, you gave it 7.5. 7.5.
Yeah, and I'd stand by that, because I do think I think it's funny because I think it's going to be time to reevaluate the review scale very shortly. Especially with no games coming out on PSVR 1, because we can't review games on PSVR. You have to review games based on the ecosystem they come out in, right? You have to say, hey, compared to all other PSVR 1 games, like, yeah, absolutely, check this shit out, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And it's now a 10 out of 10 with GameCat Island, but obviously that didn't come out on launch,
Right.
So, yeah, for sure. And he added jetpacks and stuff like that. Honestly, huge shout out to Richard, who amazing, and I can't wait to see the next game that he works on. But he was actually just like a lot of devs that hang out in the Discord, and please do join the PSVR Without Parole Discord if you haven't already, because devs from games hang out there, and it's always a joy. As someone who doesn't know anything about development and game development until I spoke to them, they're just really insightful, and it's what's so amazing about this community is the ecosystem. There's a lot of direct feedback. They want to hear what we think of games, and they want to be challenged on it and things like that. So really, really, really cool.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, in fact, you got to give it to some of these devs too. I've been pretty critical about the last couple updates that Swordsman got. I didn't love the advanced combat update, and what was the other? What was the more? Oh, the finisher update, right? I was definitely a little bit critical of those, and more than critical. I was like, I'm not sure why these exist. And I messaged Alec just over at Sin Studio who makes Swordsman, and dude, like you couldn't have gotten a more enthusiastic response. Like I know Fast Travel Games was very unenthusiastic when I gave Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife a tough review. They were not happy about that whatsoever. But you got Alec over there being like, "Oh man, we welcome all of the criticism because we just want to make our game better, and the criticism pushes us further than any of the positive feedback ever would."
I love Alec and the team. The team are brilliant, and you know what? And even with companies that maybe do take it personally, I also empathise with them as well, because you don't know what else they're dealing with from other angles. It's just a shame that there is sometimes that breakdown. Yeah. But there's a general ethos I love to live my life by, and I know the boss at the company I work for talks about it a lot, and it's always assume good intentions when you're dealing with people, especially on the internet where you don't get tone of voice and you don't know their backgrounds. It's not to say people always have good intentions, but it's always a good starting point when you have conversations. And I think it's why the chat during these live shows and on Discord is always great, because for the most part, there may be times where things get a bit heated, but generally people know we're all here because we love games and we assume good intentions on each other. And it means we get the best out of conversations, because when we are critical, it's not because we want to tear things down, it's because we want to help build things up and make them better. It's critiques are done out of love, and can't speak for everyone, but for the most part that definitely seems to be the case, and we should maintain that as the community continues to grow.
Agreed. Miles, as we close in on the 2-hour mark,
yes,
we need to wrap this thing up, and we want to, of course, thank everybody who helps this channel run, especially the moderators who do amazing work over here, but also over on Discord. Click the link in the description to join the Discord. Also, if you don't subscribe to my 3 different co-hosts, Miles, AJ, and whatever the guy on West Nest Day is named, make sure the links to all of their channels are in the description below. Make sure you go subscribe, share the love, spread the love, spread some monkeypox while you're at it, man, because really, dude, I saw our video. It's like I shouldn't even joke about that. That shit seems fucking very unhappy. So keep your monkeypox, but spread the love. And also, consider hooking us up over on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. Really, thank you to everybody who hung out today. Thank you everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody who helped me with 20 questions. Thank you everybody who's super tipped in the chat. Thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. And of course, thank you to everybody who sat back and watched the show today and didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there too, and we love you just as much.
Love you all. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy the rest of July.
All right. Secret. Hi.
Hey. Secret. Hi.
This is how tired I am.
Brian?
This is how tired. This is how tired.
That you're just saying words. You know what the order's going to be.
Dude, this is how tired I am. It's just I knew. Here we are staring at a thumbnail, and I was like, wait a minute. What's the what's the transition to what we're trying to do? So, Miles, have you been doing anything fun this week?
Brian, throw that out. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Listen, you have been through a lot, Brian. You've been unwell. You've just done a 2-hour show. You've had a very full-on week. I am very much aware that my clips of the week from Rec Room have always involved insanity. It's involved me bullying kids. And, you know, I'm very mindful that I don't want this to become a running theme on the show. And so when looking through my many clips from Rec Room, because there is loads, it's a massive goldmine of just stuff, I did think for this week there should be a change of tune. And so for the Game Cats, I thought, let's just go with something that's a bit more solemn, a bit mellow, something that is just, you know, it's probably quite boring. It's just like, just a normal day in Rec Room, okay? So this time it's a bit more tame, all right? I've got a clip.
Let's check it out.
Enjoy.
What did you do to that kid? What was that kid doing? I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start, but I don't think this is the time. That's a conversation for another hour-long GameScast.
Everyone knows Boggy Boy. I love that what was the Ian Marsh in the chat went, punching kids should be a sport. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway.
All right.
Have a good week, everyone. Enjoy.
Bye. Meow meow. Go hug your cats.